success is and the aspect that it plays in basically any human's life, and how we are often told what success is and what exactly we should be trying to achieve with our lives. And I have a different viewpoint on success than a lot of people. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that view success in the same way that I do, but it's come about in a different way for me on my goals and why I do things now as opposed to how I went about doing things in the past. And as a lot of you guys might know if you watch my videos on my channel, I'm really into occult knowledge, the spiritual realm, and I want to talk a little bit about how that kind of plays into success. Because when you have immersed yourself into the spiritual realm, your ideas of success kind of get shifted a bit, because your understanding of what actually is important for you as a being no longer aligns with what society might be saying success is. So you have to come to terms with that. You have to figure it out for yourself on what exactly you think success is, because there are a lot of areas in your life that you might be unsuccessful in merely because you have chosen a spiritual path. And that's kind of what I'm going to get into in this video. So, the first thing I want to do is kind of maybe define how I got to where I am with with who I am, and some of the successes and failures that I've been through in life in order to come to the place that I'm at right now in my life, and how I view where I'm at right now in perspective to where I see myself in the future, yada yada yada. But the number one thing about this video that I want to get across right at the beginning has nothing to do with me and what I've done and all this and why I'm doing this video to begin with. It really has to do with despair, because a lot of people despair and choose to take it out on themselves in like the ultimate way when they don't measure up to ideas of what success is. And I'm talking about suicide. And I do believe that a lot of people do commit suicide. Yes, because they may be depressed. Yes, because life's given them a bad hand. All these things do contribute to it. But I think one of those things that isn't really explored as much is success. And, I just want to point out from the beginning that there are plenty of people who have achieved what the average person would consider success, which a lot of people equate success to fame and money. And there have been a lot of people that have achieved money and fame that end up killing themselves. And the reason why that is because, yes, they may have found success in achieving money and fame, but the true success of the human individual, the life, the thing that we need as humans that nobody really seems to want to tell us that we need, is not being achieved. Or it's not achieved at the level of understanding that's required for it to bring actual happiness, or at least contentment with suffering. Because I believe suffering is a big part of contentment. I believe in the physical realm. It's almost apparent in just what it is to be a being. You're going to suffer. You're going to suffer. I mean, we all are going to suffer death. We come into this world suffering. The birthing experience is painful for both the mother and the infant that comes out. And most of us are probably going to leave suffering. Death is not something that is usually painless. Or, even if it is painless, it's usually not something that is peaceful and tranquil. There's going to be a lot of upheaval of the soul for the most part when it comes to mortality and coming to the end of it. And I believe that a lot of people out there are unhappy and miserable, and it's really sad to me. It's really unneeded and sad, because I've been through certain things in my life, and I'm going to get into this, that a lot of people probably would be like, wow, you that happened to you, and you still believe and have an attitude the way you do about life and happiness and everything, finding contentment and love and working hard for yourself and your family and your friends, and being accessible and not shutting down and not running from responsibility. Because, I could very easily become a homeless vagrant, I'll just put it that way, and be content. There are some things that I would be probably a little not so content about, because I do enjoy being married and having, a wife, and I can't really see a wife following me into homeless vagrancy. And you know what? There's no reason for me to think that would be a better option, and I'm going to get at that too. Even though I understand that would be perfectly fine, and that I'd be happy and content in that situation, and I'd even find a way to be alone if that's what it was. Just because the society that I'm in is completely sick and satanic and corrupt, doesn't mean that I have to live a life in tandem with that corrupt sickness. I can live apart from it, and I've been doing so for years, so I know that it's possible. I can be perfectly content. My eyes were opened when I was very young. I had a nervous breakdown, but part of that nervous breakdown was that my eyes were open to just how sick and corrupt everything was around me. So since that turmoil came about, that totally disrupted so much of my life for years to come after it, and totally demolished my self-esteem in so many ways, I was left with a choice to reconcile what I knew to be true, the corrupt sickness that I was immersed in, and how I was going to make my way in it, or not to reconcile it and to try to escape it somehow. I've never been one to look at my life, like my actual life being, that life energy, and not hold it in esteem. So that, therefore, for me, really, suicide would have never been an option to escape this landscape of disgustingness that I have to live in every day. And neither was really putting myself in jeopardy in order to try to touch the spiritual world in a more tangible way, like a visceral way, because that almost led to my death. Because I found out the hard way, you can only disconnect so far before you enter insanity. And I fully entered insanity, and it wasn't really that hard of a journey to come back out of. Like, I would say after my episode, within a week, I was starting to understand how far gone I was in the moment that led me to being fished out of the ocean by the Coast Guard. But, and from that point on, I just had to come to terms with everything and figure out what the hell was going on, as far as spiritually and mentally, everything. You know, I could have very easily ended up in a psych ward, but for the grace of the universe and my father, I didn't. My dad came and picked me up. Coast Guard plucked me out of the ocean, weeping. My dad came and picked me up, brought me home. I had to go down later that week and talk to the police, and they told me straight up that the only reason why I wasn't going to the psych ward was because my father said he was going to take care of me. And he did. You know, he gave me a place to recover, a time to recover, and a bunch of love. And when I told him I was a prophet, he didn't even challenge me on that. He said, okay, you can be a prophet, but don't do anything like that ever again. And I won't. I told him I wouldn't, and I won't. And for me, dropping out and becoming a homeless vagrant would be another iteration of that. So therefore, I have to find a way to actually function in this society. And a big part of that is redefining success. Because what led me to actually disconnect as far as I did and to follow a disembodied voice in my head into the ocean was me trying to transcend this reality. And it was, I still don't understand a lot of the aspects about what happened, but it was done in a way where I was a follower. Even if what I was following was something I manifested in my own brain, some voice, for a momentary amount of time, and it wasn't some being, which I very well think it may have been an actual entity that I was interacting with. Even if it did spring from my own definitely weak, drug-addled teenage mind, because before this episode took place, I was partaking in drugs, not any more than my peer group around me, but I think, being a spiritual being, I was a lot more susceptible to the effects of those hardcore drugs. And it could have been, them leaving my system at such a rapid pace, because when you make it, people don't know this, but it's biologically and scientifically proven that when you make a choice to stop imbibing substances, they immediately begin to leave your system. And that can be traumatic. That's why people go through withdrawals. You know, I didn't really go through withdrawals because I wasn't really addicted to a substance. And it was just a numerous amount of different types of drugs I was taking, which a lot of teenagers out there have done. You all know the type. I was one of those kids that just, I smoked a lot of pot. I drank alcohol, not a whole lot. That wasn't really my thing. What had been becoming my thing, but not really at a level to where I was addicted to it, was crystal meth. I had, and cocaine, and acid, and mushrooms. it was like the thing that we would do on the weekends when Friday and Saturday rolled around. If we could get our hands on something, we would do it. We never did like heroin or anything like that, but anything else was on the table, you know, anything short of heroin. And increasingly, before my episode, it had become crystal meth. And that's not good. Crystal meth is one of the worst drugs you can take on this earth. I would even say it's probably worse than heroin. As far as what it can do to you psychologically in a short amount of time. And, you know, it ended up that I made a decision, and these drugs could have left my system in such a rapid pace that I was not prepared for it, and the whole experience could just have been a hallucination. But it was really spiritual if it was a hallucination. I would describe it more as like a spirit, like, you know how they tell you the Native Americans use a lot of their sects used to imbibe, you know, peyote or some other kind of hallucinogenic drug, and then they would go on these vision quests when they were probably about the same age I had my experience. And they would go out for days and interact in the spiritual world, and then they would come back and join the tribe, and that was kind of like their rite of passage. Well, I kind of went through a similar type modern day vision quest of sorts, and it almost killed me. I almost drowned. I could have, you know, just been another statistic of this crazy society. But I wasn't. I was spared. And it's an interesting story. If you look back in my videos, it's one of my earlier videos. I talked about it in detail, exactly what happened. So I'm not going to really get into that. But I do want to lay the foundation for you to understand exactly what I'm saying about success. Because that's a big part of it. For someone like me, things like that have to be tied to success, because what it does is it puts you on the outs with success. Like my route to success in this material, tangible world would automatically be a lot harder because of that incident and me not trying to cover it up, but instead embracing it and letting it be what it was. And it's not the only incident in my life like that, but it definitely is the biggest and most impactful one. You know, I got a DUI when I was in my early 20s. You know, you have to put that on job applications. But, you know, they let me drive a semi-truck even though I got one. So that is not as impactful as, you know, say I wanted to become the President of the United States. Or even a mayor or a city council member or anything that has any type of political sway as far as being a political figure. I don't. I'm an anarchist, but say I did want to. That avenue is pretty much closed to me because I've got this event in my life that would make people go, hey, you know, we don't want that guy to be in charge. He's a freaking nutcase. He's shown us all. Look at what happened to him. And I don't hold that against anyone. I mean, that's a pretty reasonable way to look at me. But does that mean I should roll over and die? Have no aspirations towards complete success of my life, or to even lower what I think my aspirations towards complete success should and could be? No. It is a limiter of sorts, but even that I've begun to question a bit, because it's possible that the reason why I went through what I have is not because I'm diminished in capacity in some way and broken and not of importance to society, but perhaps the exact opposite. You know, perhaps there is some amount of spiritual genius within me that would even lead to what happened to me. And I'm not stroking my ego here, because, you know, we all have our thing. Maybe that could be mine. But that being said, that leads me down different avenues of what I might think success is. You know, even after that incident, I did not ditch my dreams of becoming a successful musician. I was in some bands after that. You know, that's kind of a thing that, you know, I realized me freaking out wouldn't be held against me in that world. Like, the world of music, artistry. Artists do crazy shit. Van Gogh chopped his ear off, you know? So I knew that realm of success was not closed. And I'm 40 years old, and I still don't believe it's entirely closed. And I have a full-time job that sucks most of my time and energy away from anything that I can creatively manifest into the world. But I don't think it's insurmountable. Now, that being said, I'm not going to put my potency of my efforts and my life energy into manifesting myself into a successful musician for a number of reasons. I just, at least not one that's like out touring and playing music and going about it in that way. I may try to do something with some songwriting, and I'm going to even take my time with that, because I don't need to have success in it for any other reason than it might be a good time. It might be a good time to be a songwriter. Like, I might have fun doing that. That's what it comes down to. Fun. So, that's what I've discovered that success is. Success is figuring out how to have fun in this place while still being functional. Because I could be dysfunctional or functional. That's my choice. That's everyone's choice. You could be dysfunctional or functional. The people I'm talking to out there. Now, I want to go back to where I started a little bit and get back to why I'm doing this video or this live stream. And it has to do with, it hurts my heart so much to see people give up. Because I have had so many reasons to give up. I have had so many reasons to say, this is not possible, I give up. And have had so many breakthroughs because I have not let those reasons, that weren't even really reasons, they were just illusions, dictate where I'm at right now and where I'll be in the future. And even understanding my past and finding joy and contentment in everything that has been painful. And I think that's important in real, true success. Because if you can get to that point, it doesn't matter what happens, it doesn't matter what has happened, and it doesn't matter what will happen. At all. Now, there's going to be heartbreak. I've accepted that. I'm going to continue to have heartbreak in my life, and so is everybody else around me. Now, what is going to be my response to that heartbreak that's going to define me and define what I can contribute? Because I do want to contribute. That is the only reason why even I did what I did when I ended up in the ocean, was that it was a higher calling type thing. Like, what was in my heart, I was it's almost like the Jesus energy, and I'm just going to go there. You know, it wasn't anything as dramatic or it didn't end in my demise in a completely painful, horrible way, like the Jesus story does with crucifixion on a cross. But what was in my heart, what I was trying to do, wasn't about me at all. I mean, I was nothing at the point. I had destroyed my ego completely. I was a servant, a complete servant. Now, what I was in service to was a horrible thing, whatever it was. It about killed me, whether it be an entity or my own brain. So I was not in service to something that in actuality was a good thing, but in becoming a servant, like a complete, like, my mortal coil did not matter at all. And what I thought I was achieving was, I thought I was going to help humanity. I thought I was going to save people, basically. I thought everything was hopeless and satanic, which it is, but that my sacrifice of following what I thought was the voice of God to completion, regardless of anything, just following and listening, which is, what the Bible tells you to do when you start hearing the voice of God, right? I thought that was going to mean that I would be used as an instrument of God, and that it would bring more people into God's presence. And I didn't even think those more people would be very many, because let me tell you, I looked around and saw how evil everything really was. And I still see how evil everything is. But that doesn't mean that I don't see the good, because back then I did not see the good at all. At that moment, I did not see the good. The only good that I saw was God, and I wasn't seeing God anywhere, because God was nowhere to be found in my life. But since then, I've had a long life. It's been over 20 years, and I have found the goodness and God. And it's been great. I've been given so much more than I could ever believe that I'd be given. And I'll continue to be given more, no matter what happens to me. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I know the struggle and the despair of the hearts of the people that are in this system. Because it's only inevitable that any free-thinking, loving being is going to be put in a situation where they're going to experience the turmoil of living under such evil things all around them. And it's going to lead to death and destruction and people taking it out on themselves and killing themselves. And I'm tired of it. I hate it. I hate seeing it. So I'm making this video just to try to, in case somebody might come across it and realize that what I've gone through is maybe comparable to what they're going through. Maybe it's not even close to the exact type of thing, but that the pain and the destruction of self is very similar. And that they can realize, because I'm going to fully illustrate with my words the way out of it. That there is a way out of it, and that they, in fact, are very valuable. Just as I am very valuable. And that may not be easy for somebody to hear, because they may be in a place where that's not the case in their life. It's not what it is around them. It's definitely not what they're carrying around inside them. But I'm tired of seeing people kill themselves. I'm tired of seeing people sacrifice themselves to ideologies and to live something out of despair because they feel like they have no other option, because they are given no other option. Well, I'm going to give you another option, all right? You don't have to live like that. And it's understanding what real, true success is. And to just start living for that. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Because if you define your success in a certain way, you're going to have problems. And those problems aren't going to be physical, financial problems. That might be one tiny aspect of it, but that's not the main problem. The main problem is going to be a spiritual one. And it's going to be the real definition of what hell is. Because, we think in this world that we understand what hell is, that it's like a fiery lake of fire that demons and the unsaved people are cast into to burn for eternity. To me, that's just a metaphor. And I've been through a lot to come to terms with it as a metaphor. But I am very certain that it is. Because I have the understanding of what hell is because I've been through hell. As a lot of you are. As probably most people on this earth will go through hell. Because this is where hell is. How can you live underneath Satanism and not be living in hell? And when I say Satanism, it's not because I believe in Satan, because I don't, or hell, but I believe that you can manifest the true energy of satanic everything with whatever is going on in this world, with all the tools, all the subconscious manipulation that's going on. You can definitely manifest a satanic society, and I know this to be true because I live in one. So, how can you expect, as a spiritual being, to live underneath Satanism your entire life, this pressing weight, a slave to it, in essence, and not come to terms with the fact that you are in hell? And it has nothing to do with fire. It has nothing to do with pain and burning and, because that is just, that's a metaphor to get people to be afraid of thinking for themselves. That's really all hell is. Because what can you imagine? It's like the most horrible thing you can imagine, right? Fire eternally burning forever. We've all been burned. We all know how much that hurts. Forever in eternity. Who wants to deal with that? No one, right? So therefore, what do? It's what we're told is the outcome of not adhering to a religion. And I'm here to tell you that's not the real hell. The real hell is living Satanism. Living Satanism. So, anything other than living Satanism, in my estimation, is success. I'll say that again. It's really simple to define success that way. It's anything other than living Satanism. Anything other than living Satanism. Now, what does that mean, right? Anything other than living Satanism? What the hell does that mean? Simplify that even further. First, you have to understand what Satanism is. Satanism is living for death, destruction, carnage, violence, slavery, annihilation, psychological manipulation, power structures, government, living for these types of things. Living for a hierarchical existence. I'll say that again. Satanism is living in any way for a hierarchical existence. So if you're not doing that, you've escaped Satanism. Now, in the tarot, there's a card called the Devil, and it's the 15th card of the tarot. And if you add the 1 and the 5 together, you get 6, which is the Lovers. And they kind of are a reflection of each other. And I'm going to get into this just a little bit. I don't want to go too far into this on this video. But in both, there's these figures, the man and the woman. And in the devil card, in the lover card, there's an angel trumpeting above them. You know, it almost depicts like the energy of manifesting a life where you have a lover and a partner and happiness and beauty. The Venus energy of beauty. And when you put the 1 in front of it and you add the 5 in the tarot is the Hierophant. It's the structures, the hierarchical structures, the esoteric hierarchical structures. And I'm going to include government in that because it's become one. The institutions and the priest class that run those institutions, and how people in general interact with that. It's in connection to the 5 senses, the 5-pointed star, everything it has to do with being a human on this earth, experiencing this realm, because you're going to have to interact with that. Now, we've perverted it, and it's totally fucked. Like I said, we're in a satanic death culture, but there is escaping it, because in that devil card, the lovers who are entrapped and totally domineered by the devil, their shackles are loose. They could step out of their shackles at any point in time. And I'm going to tell you what those shackles symbolize. Those shackles symbolize being involved with the satanic mind control cult. If you decide not to be involved with that cult, it's that simple. You've stepped out of the shackles and you can align yourself with what true success is and what is actually going to bring your heart happiness and love and enjoyment and contentment. And that doesn't mean it's easy. It's probably a lot more, not probably, definitely a lot more people are going to stay inside that devil dynamic and stay entrapped and inside those shackles than those that are going to understand what it is and step outside of it. Definitely. And that's a part of it, you know. You will have to be alone in a lot of different ways if you decide to travel towards success. But if you decide to travel towards success in the devil system, the same is true. So that's an illusion that you're going to escape that by deciding to stay in the shackles. That you're going to, you're going to not be alone. You're still going to be alone. You may have a stronger illusion, and everybody else around you may be feeding into that same illusion because they're also living that exact same illusion that they are not alone. But in actuality, everyone is alone. Everyone is doing their own journey. And that's not a bad thing. And that doesn't mean that you don't have loved ones and friends and family and humans, other humans, your real family. It's as simple as that. It just means that you're doing your own journey. That's all it means. You're doing your own journey. So when you take hold of your own journey and you start living your own journey, not somebody else's idea of what your journey is, you will be happy. Really happy. You will go through dark times because dark times are a part of growth, spiritual growth. They lead to the manifestation of enlightenment. Suffering is here for a reason. The reason why death exists on this 3D realm is so that you can go through transformation and go to the next step on the stairway, the ladder. That's what death is really here for. People view death, a lot of people, not everyone, as not being beautiful. But let me tell you, I think it's one of the most beautiful things. When I look at a beautiful animal like a deer, and it's dead on the side of the road and I'm driving past it, I do not mourn. I just realize that that deer had a life, and that life only could have been because of that death that is on the side of the road. That does not mean I would ever want the harm that came to that animal to happen, but it did. It did. And now that spirit that was inside that deer can go on, whatever that means, and I don't know what that means, and that's okay too. The not knowing is here and it's real, and for me to say I know would be a lie, and I know the lie just leads to the shackles and the devil card. So it's a lot better to say I don't know than I know when I don't know. So, but I don't have to live in fear of the death because I don't know. I do know that I'm here for a reason. And I've come to this conclusion, and this is why I know it, at least for myself, as one of my own personal truths, is that I am here for a reason. Because I don't think things manifest without a reason. I don't think that anything doesn't have a purpose. I don't think that anything, let me say that again, I don't think that anything, including this demented satanic world we live in, manifests without an actual purpose. And that purpose is to experience. I don't know exactly what that experience will lead to in the long term, but I definitely know that I've been through enough experiences to know that experience is probably the most valuable thing that I have ever had. The experiences that I've gathered in my lifetime are the most valuable thing that I ever have. I have a treasure trove that I carry around with me every day, and so do you. And it's our experiences. And they don't, when I say they, I mean the people running this satanic system, and yes, they are people. They don't want you to realize that. They don't want you to value the really valuable things. And that's one of them, your experiences. So if you are one of those people that is living in despair, in dissolution of so many things that you can be desolate of on this earth, whether it be friends or family or money or food or shelter or companionship or your children being taken away from you, whatever it could be that is a legitimate, heart-wrenching, terrible thing to be going through, that you're going through, even as simple as being alone and having no one to talk to about the things inside yourself that society does not want you to talk about. That's part of the program. What I'm doing right now is also to let you know that there are people out there that have broken this programming, that are willing to talk about these things. I'm an open book to these things. I'm a resource to anyone who comes across these videos that needs to talk about anything. I'm not going to judge anything. That's not my job. That's the universe's job. If the universe has a problem with you, so be it. The universe can deal with you. I don't need to. If you just need somebody to help you get out of the dark state of turmoil you're in, if you're at all relating it to being alone and having no one to talk to, I know how that feels, having no one to talk to. I'm here. You just need someone to talk to. If you just want to bounce esoteric ideas off someone because this world doesn't value them, and those are other things that are valuable, the ideas that come to you that question everything, those are valuable. They lead you to seek. Seek and ye shall find. I'm here for that too. Because that's what true success is. Aligning yourself outside of the Satanism that's trying to be shoved down your throat. at every angle. And I do mean every angle. Now, I'm tempted to go a little bit further than maybe I should into this, but I'm trying to keep myself from doing it because I'm not so sure I should at this point. But I'm going to be putting out some videos in the months, years, whatever to come, for however long it takes until I feel like I don't really want to put out any more videos, because it does have to do with my want. Part of your success is actually aligning yourself to what you want and knowing what you actually want, not what you want and then you decide that it needs to be achieved in this or that way because that's the way that the satanic world tells you need to achieve it, but what you want in general, just in simple terms. Like, I'll tell you what I want, and maybe it'll help you understand what you actually want. It may not be the same as what I want. We are highly individualistic beings. We're not all the same. Yeah, we may all be made out of the same substance and be actual brothers and sisters that need to actually treat each other as such, but that doesn't mean we are the same. We're not a bunch of bumblebees. We're not worker bees. That's part of the satanic agenda as well. They want you to dissolve your identity so much that you believe that you have no identity, that it's an illusion, and that you need to just detach. Detachment's not the answer. Believe me, I've detached, so I know. I've tried it, and it didn't work, and it's not because I failed at it. No, I completely detached. It just didn't work because it's not the answer. Alright? Neither is destruction of yourself. Definitely not the answer. I'll give you the answer. It's very simple. And I'm not trying to make this belittle what I'm saying or make it trivial, to the pain that you're going through, because I know the pain. This whole system's constructed to maximize the amount of pain a human soul is underneath the system. That's how it's designed. So I do understand your pain. I'm not trying to trivialize it. But at the same time, it's just those shackles. You can step away from your pain. That desire to detach, you can detach. But you have to do it in a way. And this is just where I'm at right now. This could change. You have to do it in a way that you can, that it actually aligns with what you want, first off. You can't do it according to some agenda of something else that's being told to you, regardless of what it is, whether it be a voice in your head, a voice from a being, a voice that might even call itself God. Whatever that voice is, or that non-voice that you don't really even need to be controlled by it, because it's being broadcast as a subconscious signal by your mind, I guess your mind, yeah. Your mind's, my mind, everyone's mind is attached to the satanic symbol, or signal, that's being broadcast everywhere, at all times. Regardless of that, it doesn't matter. You can detach from that. And when you detach from that, from the satanic signal, you're free. You've stepped out of those shackles from the devil card. You've just been liberated. Hopefully you don't have to leave the other behind, because there's two people in that devil card. There's a man and a woman. Hopefully detaching doesn't mean you have to leave people behind, which it may very well mean that. I'm going to be honest with you. And it may mean that you have to leave other things behind that aren't people. The shackle itself might be tied to physical, material things in your life. Whether it be a job that doesn't align with natural law, like law enforcement or military, or government in general, or a way that you are going about living, life choices you're making that aren't in line with natural law. things like this. And I'm going to be describing in videos to come a lot about natural law. But I'm not going to get too far into that in this one. But if you are able to step out of those shackles, you can begin to heal, and I do mean heal. Because you can look at it this way. You've been kicked around, you've been tortured your entire life. Everybody has. We all live in this satanic system. And that means that you've been demolished. Your soul has been stripped and prodded and cut and beaten and tortured and drowned and all sorts of things. So it's going to take some time to heal. 20 years later, I'm still healing. And it's only been over the course of those 20 years that my healing could lead me to where I'm at right now. And you might look at me like I'm just some truck driver in a truck. And that's not even anything close to success. But I'm going to tell you you're wrong. And I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. And the first off, it's really easy. I'm not living for the satanic signal that's being broadcast at me. As a matter of fact, I am very adept at blocking that signal. I'm very adept at subtly teaching others about what it is and what's being done to them. I'm not trying to do it on a mass level, although that would be awesome. They definitely would not want me to be heard by a lot of people. And it's very easy to keep it that way to where only a certain amount of people can hear me, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. Because I know those small amount of people that are hearing me are worth so much. And when I say so much, I mean so much. Not because they can embolden my agenda or the agenda of some karmic spiritual love fest that this earth could be turned into. Nothing like that. Just because they exist. Just because they are a human being. We don't understand what human beings are and how valuable they are. That is a real tragedy. Even the most horrible aligned human beings that have done the most horrible things have a very intrinsic value to them just because they are human beings. And it's not just the human beings, but animals in general, plants even. Everything that exists, really. Planets, the sun. These things have so much value to them. And we give value to what the satanic signal tells us to give value to. That's in part why we struggle so much and we are not as happy as we could be. We're valuing the wrong things. When you start valuing the right things, starting with yourself, and when I say valuing, I mean like straight up valuing your life. I would say you should make it a goal to live as long as you possibly can in this, even in this satanic world that we live in. Like, that should be a goal of yours. You should try to protect yourself from death. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that you should be weak and not brave and stand up for the things that need to be stood up for in the moments that they need to be stood up in. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I am saying is that you definitely want to pull yourself out of looking at your body as something other than anything, really. Your body is awesome. Your body is a miracle. Your body is a gift. You know, when they tell you your body is your temple, they're not kidding. Your body is your temple. And what is a temple but a place that's set up for worship, right? A place that's supposed to be clean and pure, and a place that's supposed to have the Spirit of God in it. And that is what your body has in it. So it is a very apt description of what your body really is. So you definitely don't want to fall into this idea that it's not as worthy of respect and honor as anything else in your life. As a matter of fact, it's probably worthy of more respect and honor than anything else in your life, including whatever ideas you have, whatever beliefs you have. Your body is more important than your beliefs. Your beliefs should be changeable and adaptable to new information. Your beliefs shouldn't be set in stone, written on tablets up at the top of some mountain. Now, that does not mean that there are not universal truths. It means that those universal truths are really apparent, and beliefs are not. Beliefs are just constructs. That doesn't mean they don't have value. Beliefs do have value. Beliefs lead to understanding, because if you experience the world in the right way, your beliefs, you're going to test your beliefs to find out whether they're true or not. By experience. You know, there's one thing that I think people don't understand, and that is faith. Faith isn't about blindly believing something that you can't prove. That's not what faith is. That is a bastardization and a destruction and a satanic way to look at what faith really is. And I would put it this way. When Jesus came back from the dead, was resurrected, was running around, and people were coming up and talking about him, and Thomas was saying, I don't believe this. And Jesus put out his hands and offered him the ability to stick his fingers in the holes. Why would Jesus have done that? Because you should be able to actually physically align what you want to take in yourself as your faith with what you can actually experience. Like, I do have faith in things. I have faith that if I teach my child the importance of love, that eventually they will understand that importance, and I'll have given them a gift. That's what I have faith in. And that's just one of the many things I have faith in. And it's because I can see it happen. You love your child, you talk to them, you show not tell your love to your child. You get to actually experience the moments when they themselves go out into the world, and you can see them reflecting the love that you have shown back out into the next person that's put in front of them. And then that person can reflect that love into someone else. And when you see that as actual reality, you can have faith, because you see it's true. Not only do you see it's true, I bet you it can be scientifically proven with a scientific method. Just know people, we don't have people going out there into the world trying to be spiritual scientists, and I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame. And I would like to build a group of people that are not aligned to religion, not aligned to anything but love and spirituality, treating each other right, that do believe in spiritual things, that have a scientific mind, that have a mind that questions, that are ready to try to maybe do some experiments in a scientific way. I would like to just build a small community of these types of people. And that's one of my goals in my life. And I haven't really pursued it as far as manifesting it, but it's definitely there. It's one of those seeds inside of me that has the potential to grow. And I imagine if that seed's inside of me, it's inside of a million other people underneath this satanic rule. They definitely don't want that seed to grow, but it may very well grow. And just because we're under this satanic system right now doesn't mean we will be 10 years from now. If you want to talk about faith, that's something I have faith in. The faith that what is doesn't have to be, and that it could change, with the understanding of true knowledge and true love. With the understanding of true knowledge and true love, I have faith that this world could be transformed to something way different than this satanic thing that we've been under for so long. Part of that is stepping out of the shackles, having the courage to do so, regardless of what the tangible world may throw at you. Because the tangible world is a world run on the satanic program for the most part. So that program that you're having to live in, you're going to have have experiences with it. It's gonna come up. But even that, you know what, I've found in these last few years, the fear that you put into it makes its power a lot greater than the fear that you decide not to put into it. Because you're always going to have a kernel of fear. That's a part of being a human. Because I think what fear does is it causes you to question. Because, you know, you don't want to end up somewhere bad. It's as simple as that. You don't want to end up somewhere bad. You don't want to be in a bad situation. So there's fear, right? But it's a part of success is understanding that fear, for the most part, could be entirely manufactured by illusion of a signal being broadcast that actually does not manifest even a fraction of what is being broadcast at will if you decide to take yourself out of it, that system. I guarantee you that if you decide to take yourself out of the satanic system, everything you fear will start to dissipate and will start to recede. And it will make room for everything you don't fear to manifest, and for success, true success, to actually start to come into your life. Now, I'm going to move on a little bit into talking about the dangers of coming out of the satanic system, because it itself, it sets some things up inside of people that can be exploited by those who live on the fringe of it and try to draw the people in that no longer want to stay in it, because there's a ton of us out there that either have gotten out of it or don't want to stay in it. And these people that are living on the fringes, they're illusionists, and they are deceivers, and they will, if you decide to go along with their agenda, it's just their way of being another head on the Hydra. So you don't want to go there, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this. There's this guy called Nature Boy, right? And I've been watching Angel Dominique's videos, because she's somebody that I've had interaction with, and that I really respect a lot, because I could tell that she is actually out in the world trying to make a difference with people in their lives. Introduce them to love and God. Yes, she's a Christian, but for me, that's not a disqualifier for a spiritual being. Definitely not. As a matter of fact, there's so much about Christianity that I'm calling myself a Christian-adjacent anarchist. That seems to be the best description for what I am. I just don't believe some of the same things as them. But the core message of most of what Christ was saying, and when I say most, I do mean most, not all. There are some doctrines that I will dissect and tell you where I stand on them. And that's important in being a being, in my estimation, is not just to be given a book and be like, here, believe this. No. That goes back to the faith thing. I won't believe it. Not if everything around me tells me that it's not true. Everything that I experience in my life tells me that it's not true. I ain't going to believe it. I'll maybe think that you got it wrong, and that maybe there's some spiritual knowledge behind what's being said, but I'm not going to think it's the spiritual message that you're saying it is, if I know, in fact, it's not. So that's kind of my relationship with the Bible, all right? It's definitely not the Word of God in my book, okay? That doesn't mean I don't have a lot of respect for people that are interacting with God, because a lot of Christians, that's what they're doing. And when I say God, I don't even mean their perception of God. I mean what I believe God is, which is just the manifester of everything, the one who makes everything possible to come into life and have a life and experience the things that we are here to experience, that we come from and will return to. That's my perception of God, all right? And I'm still working that out. I don't know if I'll ever be able to write it down and communicate it in a way that other people can see it, or even if that's needed, really, for other people to see my perception of God. I'm not even really sure that's needed. That's what humanity needs. I think what humanity needs a lot more than that are just people to live. People to live life outside of the satanic system. Period. That is a lot more valuable than me getting somebody else to understand my perception of God, in my estimation. If you can understand my perception of being a human being and valuing you as a human being, then we've made a lot of progress, all right? So Angel Dominique, this Christian woman who I highly value, has been putting up a lot of stuff that has to do with this guy called Nature Boy. Now, who Nature Boy is, he's doing his version of what he's saying success is, out, I guess, along the equator, because you got to be in the proximity of, I guess, between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn to really get the sun energy the way it's supposed to be. Now, I'm going to dissect that just a little bit, or maybe I won't. I don't know. But I'm going to put it off to the side for a minute so I can continue. But you can hear the contempt that I have for that type of thing, and I'll tell you why. When you rigidly start to define a system of life, and you expect other people to come into that system of life and live that system of life, you are satanic. Right there, you've already been, not even in my estimation, in reality's estimation, stamped with Satanism. All right? You are trying to control other people. You are trying, and not only that, you're doing it in a really nefarious way. You're playing on people's real desire to leave Babylon, is what he's calling it. And you're telling them how to do it in a way that just totally screws them up, man. Maybe they can get out of it because not everything Nature Boy is saying is untrue, but that's a part of it. That's a part of it. By giving some truth, enough truth that you quench some of the thirst of the people that aren't getting spirituality from religion or living life isolated in general and trying to be spiritual, and giving them an alternative, which is, follow me, I have the answers, I am the Messiah. Because that's what, in essence, this guy is doing. He's prompting himself up as a Messiah. And it's very, very transparent as to why. I'm not even so sure he understands why. He may, in fact, actually believe he is a Messiah, because he's running a program, a satanic program. He may even be the architect of said satanic program and brainwashed himself into believing it enough and be putting it out that signal strong enough to be attracting a number of people susceptible to that. And that's really what's going on there, okay? I really don't need to say a whole lot more on that. I think I pretty much just summed everything he's doing up in a nutshell. So that's not the answer. That type of escape, in my estimation, is not the answer, and it's only because I've tried it. And it's attractive. It's very attractive to, as Timothy Leary said, drop out. You know what I mean? Very attractive. But it's not the answer. The answer is more aligned with love the one you're with, because that's the answer. Love the one you're with. Now, what's that mean? That means know the one you're with, first off. If you want to have a relationship, because I do believe that this is a part of success. I believe that the reason why the Lover's card is its own card in the tarot is because it's a part of the human experience. Maybe not for everyone, but I believe for the vast majority of us, we all long for that one other of mostly the opposite sex. Although some people are homosexual or whatnot, or some iteration of that, and they decide to go on the journey that way. And there's no, I'm not going to say they're not going to get the same things out of their relationships that I'm going to get. I'll put it that way, so you can know my viewpoint on that right up front. But the lovers, that's important to us as humans. That's a big part of success. In the Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot deck, the sex, because yeah, the Lover's card has a lot to do with sex, and so does being a human. But the sixth card of discs is actually called success. All right, and what it is, it's the discs are material, right? We are in a material realm. If we dismiss the material realm as being something other than spirit and soul and love and only being this machine, it's not a machine. Look how it grows. Look how much beauty it is. It's represented by earth. Earth is not desolate. It has dissolution. It does have the polarity of the yin and the yang, as everything does. So does spirit. So does water. So does everything. But when we try to not give it its due, so to speak, we're in danger. We're in danger because we're basically saying that this gift that we've been given, which has a lot to do with living on such a beautiful planet, is not worth what it is, basically, because it's worth a lot. All right. So this is why the dropout doesn't work. Now, in a way, it does. Stepping out of the shackles from the devil card in the tarot is a form of dropping out, and it's the form of dropping out. Well, it's the form of escaping Satanism, because that's all success is escaping Satanism. But when you go to this success card and it relates it to materialism, now that makes the mind wonder, well, I thought we were supposed to escape materialism. No, we're supposed to understand materialism and not to hold on to it too tightly or too loosely. And that brings us to Saturn, my friends. Saturn, the god or whatever, the energy that has the planet, that has the archetype associated with it that a lot of people disparage, myself included. I've written poetry lamenting being under Saturn. All right? But I've come to understand Saturn a little bit more as I get more mature, because Saturn really is an energy about maturity. And if your maturity is real and it's good, the maturity is in line. And that's when the Saturn energy, we can understand it and we can see that it is beautiful. It is not something, it can be used as the polarity goes, it can be used as the darkest polarity, which is Satanism, or the lightest polarity, which is natural law. Those are the two opposites, Satanism and natural law. And they both exist. And we don't have to live in one or the other. That's our choice. Like I said, you could step out of those shackles in the devil card at any point in time. So, how do you achieve success and how do you come into alignment with Saturn? And what does that mean? And how do I know about this? And what do I know about this? Well, I would say, I'm going to give you a gift right now. All right? I started this with know thyself, know others, seek and ye shall find, things of this sort. Now, I'm going to, if you come from Christianity, I'm going to give you a little verse that may actually open your heart up to what I'm going to say, because if you go to into the mainstream theology that is espoused in most Protestant, probably Catholic, I don't know as much about the Catholic religion, churches out there, it is that astrology is something that we're not supposed to do. Much like divination, which I'm not entirely sure how I feel about divination. I'm still working that one out. But I'm doing it in a way that you need to do it. Not blindly believing, having faith that that book is right and that I need to not touch divination. I've more put it to actual practical application and come to my own determination on divination, which is that I think divination is not all it's cracked up to be. I'll put it that way. It has a lot of potential to be used for evil, is another way I'll put it. So therefore, I kind of see it as a tool that I'm not really I'm not really at the level where I even want to play around with it, because I've played around with it and I understand what it is, and I know it's not needed for anything I want to do, so why use it? You know? It's kind of like, I know how to shoot a gun, but I don't really have a reason for shooting a gun, so right now I don't own a gun. I mean, I don't really get a lot of joy out of target practice. It is fun every once in a while, but not enough for me to actually own a gun. I know how to do it, so if I ever needed a gun, I could just go get a gun, and I already know I'm a good enough shot that I'm going to be all right, or at least as good as I would. I mean, I don't want to manifest a bunch of energy into trying to perfect myself as a marksman. Nor do I need a gun to hunt, because I know I don't want to kill animals with a gun. I just know I don't. That's my own personal thing, all right? I don't want to do it. I know that it hurts my spirit, because like I said, I've experimented with reality and found that out, that I am not one to kill. I don't even like killing bugs. I killed a few bugs the other day because they were like gnats and little mosquitoes, things like that, flies, things that were annoying me. You know what? I'll still kill those bugs. But if it's something that I don't really need to kill, like a spider, I will usually just, like, my neighbor came, she was freaking out last summer. I was outside, and she's an older lady. She's like, "Oh, there's this huge spider. Can you come over and take care of it, Stephen?" And I was like, "Sure." So I came over with a broom, and I swept the spider web and all up off her top of her house. And then I went over in my backyard and put it on some tree in my backyard. And I came back, and she's like, "What were you doing?" And I told her, I said, I don't want to kill that spider. I just don't want to kill it, so I didn't. I don't think she got it. I didn't really try to explain it more than that. But that's kind of how I am, I really do value life. Because it's a thing to be valued. It's as simple as that. I mean, it really is. Life is so beautiful, so valuable. Such a resource, and not a human resource like the satanic way they call people in their corporate American fuck, but a resource, a spiritual resource. Humans are spiritual resources for love. That's what we are, and we don't even understand that, and that is so sad. That has a lot to do with success as well, finding that truth out. You've already pretty much went down the road of success. Everything else after that is just going to be manifesting success. So, let's get back to Saturn. Let's get back to the Six of Discs, the Pentacle, in the Tarot Crawley Thoth deck called Success, and explore this idea a little bit more of its relationship to Saturn, its relationship to love, its relationship to the earth element, its relationship to the human life and the gift that's been given us. Okay? Because all it has been is perverted on this earth. So all you have to do is live outside of that perversion. To step outside of the Satan shackle, and you can experience a number of things. Hell, I could become one of the most rich people on earth at any point in time. I don't care if I do or not. I'm certainly not going to do anything bad to achieve that, but I'm not going to close the door to it either and say, there's some people that believe that the only way that you can become rich is to go through the eye of a needle backwards, I guess, and become so satanic that that's how you manifest your riches. I don't believe that. I believe that it does have a lot to do with the planet Jupiter and luck, because that's a part of life too. And I think a lot of us that are on this earth are here to experience certain karmic lessons that have to do with luck. I'm not one of them. I don't think. Maybe I am. I have Jupiter in the 9th house, which is the house of philosophy. So maybe that's where I'll find my luck, talking about things like this. I don't know. And Jupiter does vibrate with money, so maybe I'll find money talking about things like this. I don't know. All I know is there's nothing satanic in coming to what people would call security, luxury, things like that. There's nothing satanic about luxury at all. As a matter of fact, I think that a lot more people could experience luxury if we weren't living under this satanic system. Because all it does is funnel all the luxury to those who are the most satanic, for the most part. Now, like I just said, I don't think having money means that you're satanic like a lot of people do. I think that doesn't stand up. Alright? I could be wrong. I'm still open to the possibility I might be. But for the most part, it doesn't matter to me. Money doesn't matter. At all. Like I started this video saying, I could become a homeless vagrant tomorrow, and it's very appealing and attractive to me, but I don't, because I think that I can give people more value as a human by not doing that. Because I believe if I were to do that, it would just manifest nothing, really. Because nobody would want to listen to me. They wouldn't take me seriously. And I certainly wouldn't be benefiting my wife or my children. So I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. It's, it comes to being satisfied with what I am doing, that I don't need to do that. Even though it's very attractive, I might actually make it the lifestyle of the protagonist in a novel I'm going to write, because when I'm done with my challenge that I've given myself this year, which is my poetry challenge of writing a poem every day this year, I'm going to move into my next phase is going to be trying to write something that possibly could, and I big on the word possibly and big on the word could, manifest financial gains into the lives of myself and my family, at the same time as being a creative, spiritual thing. And the two things that I've narrowed it down to for that manifestation are a novel and or a screenplay. Maybe I'll do both. And that's the other thing. People think that you have to sell out to Satanism to produce anything in Hollywood, and that I would be rejected merely on that basis, because unless I was willing to become satanic, I would never be able to manifest a screenplay as something that would bring financial gains into my life. And the way I look at that is, maybe that might be true, but at the same time, that's why I said probably could, because now I'm going to get to the root of what success is. Success is finding a way to be yourself and to do your dreams, regardless of the restraints that Saturn, and yes, I am saying Saturn, has put upon you in this life contract that you have signed and put yourself in to even be here on Earth, all right? Now that, I just took a big leap right there in what I'm talking about, right? Life contract, what the hell is that, right? What the hell's a life contract? Well, the life contract is very simple. Look at your astrology. And I only know this because I've been studying it for years and put it to practical use as a tool for self-understanding and coming to where I'm at in my knowledge of everything, to determine that, yes, indeed, my natal horoscope, for some reason or another, I don't even know why, is a snapshot of the picture of my life contract. The thing that I agreed to do while I'm here, karmically, so that I can learn whatever it is to move on, to step another step, so to speak. And not only that, it's a beautiful thing because I get to be here on Earth while I get to manifest this contract. Yeah, I'm in this satanic system, but I know I'm here for a reason. I know that I've understood it and come clear out of it. You know, Scientologists talk about clear, and they don't understand what clear is, all right? I'm clear. I've come out of the satanic mindset, the satanic psychopathy, and now I'm clear. And I can live on Earth as a clear being, and that's beautiful. So therefore, I don't need anything more than that. Hell, everything could be taken away from me, and I could be imprisoned. I could be tortured and killed, just like Jesus. I'm not trying to manifest that, nor is that the energy of the life contract I signed, I don't think. Alright, it doesn't seem to be. But it very well could be, and I would be okay with that because I understand what is going on. I understand that if that were to happen, that there would be a reason for that. And yeah, I know that this may seem highly reductionist, especially when there are little babies born in Africa that their entire existence is to grow up to starve and then to die. That's like their karmic existence. And how can I look at their astrology and look at my astrology and look at this concept of a life contract, and how does that hold up, right? It seems like it would fall apart right on its face. And I'll give you that it is something that I struggle to understand, that I'll continue to pursue in understanding, because I do understand that my life really is connected to this astrological wheel that I've discovered. And I would suggest, if you can get outside of the trappings of seeing astrology as a satanic thing because you maybe are really aligned with the religions that may be telling you it is, if you can get outside of that, and I'm not saying you should or you have to, You could be a Christian and just go according to what Jesus said and treat people good, and you'll be fine in this life, all right? You'll pretty much have escaped the satanic system because you'll be living for love if that's what you truly are doing. And that's really all it takes, is stepping outside of it. And, you'll be following what Jesus said that has to do with this satanic system, which is, people don't understand what render unto Caesar what is Caesar's really means. It doesn't mean pay your taxes. It means that money itself, the idea of money, is a construct of the government and is used to enslave us and keep us enslaved under Satanism. So, what Jesus is saying isn't give a little bit of your money to Caesar and be happy with that lot, and that be the balance of this world and the construct of God and the way of it, so to speak. That's not at all what he's saying. What Jesus is saying is that the whole concept of money is a distortion, a pollution of human interaction that leads to human enslavement under Satanism. That's why Satan tempted Jesus with all the things that Satan certainly does have control over in this world. And that's all Satan has control over in this world. And that's only because we give Satan control over that. If enough of us stepped out of those shackles at the same time, we could transcend the Satanism. That's why I also started this video by saying, just because we are living in this world that we live in doesn't mean I don't have the faith that we can totally step out of it, because I understand exactly how we can. And it's not that hard to do. It's a journey, and it might take a couple years for people to grasp and to mature to the level of understanding to do such a thing. And then after they do, to have the actual experience and the wisdom to know that it is right aligned with the universe, and then maybe to be able to talk about it and get others to understand it. This could be a domino effect thing. It could be the pay it forward concept, so to speak. Not paying it forward with the fiat, the money, paying it forward with the soul and the love and the understanding and the wisdom. Sharing that. That could be the true pay it forward. That's what I'm attempting to do. I don't know if it will be successful in this world's equivalent of success, which equals results, because that's another thing I'm going to touch on. Success does not have to equal result. That's one thing that we are definitely deluded in, all right? And that's where I'm going to get to my challenge. My use of the word, my next goal is to produce something that has potential for manifesting. It could manifest financial gains, because the result doesn't matter. It's the doing that matters. It's the doing. That is the true stepping outside of the shackle. And when I say the doing, that could be even looked at as in, and I had to struggle with this. I really had to struggle with this. That could even be looked at as, are you spending enough time in the doing? Are you giving the doing its due, so to speak, to manifest? That doesn't even matter. Do what you can. That's what I'm going to tell you. That is the key to success. Do what you can with what you've got, where you can, when you can, and how you can. If you can do that, you are successful. You are living in love. You have the true gold, the true currency of what this earth really has to offer already. Even in this satanic system, you've stepped out of it and you possess the true currency. So I'm going to be stopping this video soon because I've pretty much explained a lot of things. Now Saturn, I'll touch on this real quick, and the success card before I get to where I'm going, and maybe tie it up with one little, ribbon of what exactly success is, and how maybe this message can make you feel better about your life and where you're going and the potential that you have. Saturn, its rulers are Capricorn and Aquarius. Now, it's only been recent that we've discovered the outer planets and attributed them in astrology to having rulership over signs. So Uranus, or Uranus, or however you want to say it, is another ruler of Aquarius. But I would posit that it's actually a lower ruler, and that the classical ruler of Saturn is the higher ruler, the one that has more, a little bit more dominion, all right? And not a whole lot more, because hierarchy itself is an illusion, but it has more potency, I should say, in its energy signature. So, what Saturn being there at the top of the horoscope, because those signs rule the 10th house and the 11th house, what that tells you right there is the direction. North is the direction of more morality, all right? South is the direction of the soul. That's why the 4th house and the 5th house are towards the bottom. They are kind of like the reflections of the other ones. And they're ruled by our closest planets of the sun and the moon. I mean, the sun's not the closest, but it's definitely one of the most potent and the most integral of living life on Earth. So when I say closest, I mean closest as much as life experience it affecting us on Earth. So our closest planets that have the most to do with living as a human being are the sun and the moon. And they are in the 4th and the 5th house. So they're the reflections of, across from it, the 10th and the 11th house. And what that means is the soul energy, the manifestation energy of the sun and the moon come up out of the bottom. They come up. They're something that you have inherently. Whereas the other energy of Saturn is the understanding of the parameters of the place that we're in and what it can give to that soul energy to manifest upwards to heaven. Because there's the MC, which is at the top of the horoscope, and it basically points out towards the center of heaven. Like, that's where your aspirations for your soul kind of reach towards. All right? And a lot of people have perverted that into thinking that Saturn is Satan, when in fact Saturn is just morality, the laws of nature, making you adhere to morality. And part of morality is contribution, all right? You can't just be some lazy slob going around like Nature Boy, talking about spiritual concepts and sucking like a leech, and think that that is higher morality. And this is a part of the escapism thing that I'm getting back to, and success and the earth element. You have to live in your world in the way that now there are some people put on this earth that are supposed to go out into the world and interact on the earth in a way that totally does bring them outside of the system. I would say like Mother Teresa, something like that. And that's a far cry from Nature Boy. So I think I could just leave it at that and move on. All right? So, when you find where you are and where you're at, for instance, I'm going to use my life. I'm getting towards the end of this. So I'm going to use my life to illustrate this example before I leave. All right? So right now, I'm a truck driver. My time mostly goes towards being a truck driver. I don't particularly find some spiritual part of my life in the work that I'm doing. But then again, I've co-opted it in ways that I do. So I'm very happy with truck driving because I'm allowed to be alone, away from other people, with myself, which is a blessing. Being alone is not a curse, it's a blessing. For large parts of my day, and I'm able to flesh out all sorts of spiritual concepts. I'm able to, so what I'm doing right now is I'm telling you all the blessings that I have for being a truck driver. I'm able to make enough money that I can provide for my family just enough to eke out an existence where we have enough food and all our bills are currently being paid. We have a lot of debt that's not being paid, so it's not the best way. But it is a blessing that I'm able to, of all this people on earth that have ever manifested, my lot's not that bad, all right? I'll put it that way. I've got a pretty cushy life. And I'm able to, even though a large portion of my time is taken up by what I'm doing, it's kind of cool. I get to see the landscape. I get to see the earth, experience looking and watching it interact with, the plants. I get to watch the wind blow. I get to watch the clouds. I get pissed off when the sky is full of chemtrails, but I get pissed off knowing that there are particulate matter trying to kill this beauty that I'm interacting with. But at the same time, it's in my face every day, so I'm forced to realize that that's the reality, and I'm forced to find a way to interact with that reality and make it the truth. That's why I'm making this live stream right now. I'm making my reality the truth. All right? It's as simple as that. So I'm able to do this thing that I don't enjoy particularly. I do like driving. It is kind of fun as well. It is kind of like a game. I got to get through traffic. It's like a video game. It's the equivalent of playing a video game all day. Except for I can also do other things that give me a lot of value. I can listen to books. I can learn a lot. So I'm like a scholar in another way, because I actually have the time to devote to learning, and nothing's keeping me from doing that. So, in a way, being a truck driver is the perfect job for a person like me. So, instead of getting bitter about having to go and devote this much time to this thing, I've realized the blessings of finding it and where it has me just right now. I don't have to be a truck driver for the rest of my life, nor do I really want to be. If I am, so be it. If I do find that that's the best avenue for interacting with this space until I die, so be it. But if I'm not, because I'm doing things like writing poetry, which doesn't seem like it would give you financial freedom, and probably won't, but I'm not looking at the poetry in that way, and that's how I'm going to talk about success, because the writing of the poetry itself is success. Because even though it's poetry, and poetry is probably the least monetizable form of writing out there, it is getting me into the exercise of writing itself, into the routine. Because in this lifetime, I am supposed to establish routine. I am not supposed to disconnect. I am supposed to reconnect with routine and goals, long-term visions, staying at something, becoming more of a Virgo worker, working towards things, than the Piscean sage of the past, that energy that I've had my entire life. That's so easy for me to use. That's a big part of me. It's never going to go away. It's a gift given to me. But I can't really interact with this world in that way and expect to evolve, because I've already interacted with the world in that way. Now I need to interact with the world in a more material way. So this year's poetry, just to wet my feet in the writing routine. Next year, I'm going to step it up and write something that possibly may bring me financial gain. And if not, I still got success out of it. I got the experience of writing, which itself is success, because it's time devoted to a craft, which gives you being better at your craft. Just as I am a lot better at astrology after studying it for 20 years. So I've given my time devoted to that craft, and that's something I'll study till the day I die. Finding the things that you want to study, finding the things that you want to do, and doing them regardless of where you're at financially, or the things that actually materialize in your material world as your financial gains and your financial security, is the definition of success, regardless of whether or not it leads to financial success, because that's only a construct. Because everything that you can get out of life, you can have with no financial success. That is the key, understanding that. And I'll say it again. Everything that you can get out of life, you can get with no financial success. Financial success itself is so illusory and transitory. There are people who have had extreme financial success that end up in the gutter, and vice versa. People that have been in the gutter for long, long periods of time, all of a sudden do something crazy and find extreme financial success. That's where Jupiter comes into play in the whole thing. So, the key to success, and I'm going to end this video now, is finding what you want to do, knowing what you want to do, and working towards it just as much as you can, and not being bitter about it being a slow process if it's a slow process. Because it might be a slow process. Capricorn is all about walking up the steps in a slow, slow way. Saturn's all about that too. It's about teaching you things in a more masterful way. So I'm going to leave it at that, everyone. I hope you got something out of this. And to all those heartbroken people out there, know that life does get better, and there are people out there that are meant to love you. Just focus on that. Focus on those people coming into your life, and that will probably still be a struggle as well. But those people will eventually, you'll find. And, you know, if I need to be one of those people for you, my door is open. All right, everyone. Have a good one.